I am looking forward to talking to you tonight. There's a quote that says, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get exactly what you've always gotten. So if you want to get to a different result, you have to do something different. And so that's what I'm talking about tonight, is change. The article that Katricia read was The Power of One, and it's all about leadership and taking on the role of leadership in this world that we live in, which, of course, this is what we're here to do. I know that JCI is sort of an incubator for professionals, so hopefully I can help you incubate yourself a little bit. You don't take on the role of leadership because of seniority or because you have a degree in something. Leaders come out of pressure. So when everybody else is running for the hills, that's when the leader takes hold and they start making the hard decisions. So leaders take command. And tonight I'm going to talk to you about some of the leaders that have inspired me. But everyone has power to affect change. We all do. And oftentimes we don't realize that in ourselves. But if you look at your family situation, or at times when you were in a crunch, and there were moments when you just took over and took command. And it's about an internal power that we all have. And so we want to get in touch with that power and realize that we can use it whenever we need to. Basically, we live in a fear-based world, and most of our culture is operated from fear. And all you have to do is turn on the radio or the TV, and you'll see that, because it's who did what to who, and it's really instigating a lot of fear. In fact, I was talking to a radio personality the other day, and he said that years ago when he was in radio, if you went out to the field to cover a story, and if there wasn't anything happening, then you had to just make something happen, or you had to talk a lot about what little bit did happen 3 or 4 days ago, and you had to keep it stirred up and moving. So that's the kind of culture that we're coming from, that we're looking at the stuff that's been happening that's maybe not very positive, and building it up and building it up and building up. And so we hear about a school shooting, and we hear about it and hear about it and hear about it. And we keep that in everybody's consciousness. I tell my students all the time, if you want to have good dreams at night, then don't turn on the television before you go to bed. In fact, it's probably the thing you should not do, is never listen to the news at all. And you're going to be a lot better off if you do that. So many times what people are doing, instead of taking on the leadership role, is they're trying to find security. I'll be in this position for 29, 30 years, and I'll be secure. But we've all found out that security is not from being in a position for a long time, because people like Boeing and AB and all kinds of industries in our town have let go people that have been there a long, long time. So what happens is we get so much into a lull by staying in a position for so long that we just sort of get lulled in this sense of security, and we've lost our edge. We're unable to go out and make things happen because we're not used to change and moving and going to the next position and so forth. So what we're talking about with leadership is you have to become your own leader, and it's up to you to develop your own resume. It's up to you to develop your own experiences. And if you wait for somebody else to do it, it's not going to happen, because they're looking for someone to fill the slot that they need. So it's up to each one of us. I think of myself as I am my own company, and you are your own company. You're your own business. And so what you do with that business is completely up to you. It's important that you keep learning and growing and expanding yourself, because that's what's going to make you secure over time. That's what's going to create the inner security that you need. But it's never going to happen by being in a position for a long period of time. It's going to happen because you keep changing and you keep flowing and you stay flexible. So people aren't showing up in your life to make you secure. That is really your job. And the way you develop that is by knowing that you can respond to whatever's before you. You can respond to whatever situation there is. So if we wait around for somebody to take control and show us the way, we're probably going to be waiting a long time, because that is not their job. Their job is to figure out their own path, and your job is to figure out yours. So that's what we're here to do. You create your own biography, you create your own history, you create your own responsiveness, and you create the company that you work for, which is you. So no matter how long you've been in the job that you're in, what you take with you is you and all your experiences and expertise. So the titles, the the prestige, the status, all of that you leave when you leave the earth. The thing that you take with you is what you become. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, is what you can become. You can become anything you decide you want to be. And it's about moving on. It's about taking risks. You know, we have to know who we are. We have to know what our ideals and our values are so that we can live those values and ideals. And if we don't, then we're kind of in hard trouble. So I thought of this little example, like you're a PC, you're a personal computer, and all your thoughts and beliefs are in your hard drive. And as you express these values and beliefs, they go out in little emails to different people. And you print them, and you write about them, and you talk about them, and you share them with all these other little PCs. And then one day, you get on the World Wide Web, and you're broadcasting your values, your beliefs, your experiences, and your history to the whole world, to the whole universe. And you want to be ready for that. You want to know exactly what you stand for, because one day it's going to be your turn. It's like your mind is generating ideas all the time, and you want these ideas to operate from the level of, a value that you hold. And so we create our own value. When enough people do that, when enough PCs do that, we've changed the whole world. I think in terms of, we talk about Afghanistan and Iraq, and I was in China a couple years ago, and even though there was a lot of poverty, what I saw was people were plugged in. They had iPods, they had cell phones, they had computers. So even in an area where there's not much going on, industrially, they're plugged in to the World Wide Web. We're changing the whole world by our ideas that are going out into the world. So even if they're living with a dictatorship or a very dominant leader, the people are changing from underneath, and it's going to come up and bubble up, and we're creating a wave around the whole world. So the whole world is in the middle of all this change. I thought of this in terms of, what if, there's a story called The 100th Monkey. I don't know if anyone ever heard that. It's actually some research that was done many years ago in the 60s. It was research that was done where scientists were observing a colony of primates on a remote Japanese island. And they were watching the monkeys wash the sweet potatoes that they were going to eat and wash the sand off of it in the stream. And one monkey would do that, and then in a little while, another monkey would start doing it, and pretty soon the whole colony was washing the sand off their sweet potato before they ate it. And once there was a certain number of primates that was doing this activity, then the activity went to the next island, and the monkeys on that island were doing the same thing. So it's called critical mass. And what happens is that when we start an activity, and the next person picks up on that, and the next person picks up on that, and the next person picks up on it, pretty soon that activity is spreading through continents and around the world. So think of it this way. What if we decided every day, I am living in peace? I refuse to be offended. I'm starting with myself. I'm going to choose love today. And each person that I greet, I'm going to smile at. I'm going to give them positive energy. And I'm going to give up resistance in life. I'm going to share my wealth. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to recycle, because I don't like waste. I'm going to recycle things. If I'm not using it, I'm passing it on to someone else. I'm going to yield the road. If somebody wants to get in my space on the highway, I'm going to move over and let them have it, And I'm going to forgive. I'm going to forgive everyone, even if somebody is rude, or I don't know what's going on in their life. So I'm going to forgive them. And every day I'm going to do this all day long. I'm going to choose to see the good in every person. I choose to see the good in every person, because there's always good in everybody. And I'm going to spread this love wherever I go. I want to smile. Okay? And what happens then, if I do that, and then I'm affecting you, and you do that, and I'm affecting you, and you do that, and then you're affecting him, and he does that. And pretty soon, because we're in a space of non-resistance, because we're in a space of choosing love over fear, because we live in a fear-based society, but we're choosing as something else. Instead of being afraid of you, I'm going to approach you. Instead of being fearful that you might want something from me that I can't give you, I'm going to approach you and offer you whatever I have. Okay, and what happens then? We begin to change the world because we create a wave that begins to move around the world. So that experiment with the monkeys is just a metaphor for you and I, that now we've got computers in China, we've got internet in China, we've got people who don't have anything. They don't really own an apartment or anything, and they're on the computer. And we're affecting them by what we say and what we do. So in regard to that, we've got to develop some skills. And the skills that I'm suggesting tonight is, for leadership, is to learn how to live in uncomfortable situations. I see a lot of times where it's a difficult situation and a lot of people just run. And the person that becomes the leader is the one that stands up to it and says, let's figure this out, let's work it out. So I'm suggesting that you become alive when the situation's uncomfortable. When there's a need and nobody knows how to fill it, then let's go to the table and figure it out. And develop that feeling within yourself that you're connected to something bigger than yourself. And there's an answer there for you. This is how I live my life. I stop and I wait and I listen and then I figure it out and take action. But I'm always listening to something higher than myself. And so that means we turn off the TV, because that's not higher than us, that's lower than us, and we begin to operate from something that speaks to us in a different way. We listen to the presence that we have within ourselves. We pay attention to that. We spend time with it every day, and we develop that communication, that connection. If you're living in a box, then you discover what the box is. Any way that you're limiting yourself is a box. So you look at the box that you're living in and you figure out what it is that's creating that box. One thing it can be is if we think that we're here to make everybody else happy, then we're living in a box. Because, first of all, that's a prescription for failure. You cannot make other people happy. The only person you can really make happy is you. So if we're looking around going, I'm not successful because my spouse isn't happy and my friend isn't happy and my boss isn't happy, and we have to get clear about that I can do my best job, but I can't make anybody happy. And if they're bent on being unhappy or disturbed or angry or whatever, then that's going to win out, because that's the decision they've made. Or if we're living in a victim box, that it's everybody's fault and I didn't do anything, it's their fault. What you're doing is avoiding responsibility, but you're also avoiding responsibility. So your life is not going to go anywhere. You're going to live in that little victim box, and whatever's going on, it's everybody else's fault and not yours. And what we want to do is change the whole idea of fault and just realize that there's cause and there's effect. I'm setting up causes in my life. When I decide, hey, you take the road, you're in a bigger hurry than I am, so you go ahead, I'm setting up a cause. I am not going to fight anyone. I'm going to allow them to have their way, because that is not something that's worth my time and energy. So get out of the victim box and to choose the position that you want to have in this world. Choose what you stand for. If you're feeling like you have to live by everybody else's rules, but you don't have the ability to create your own, then you're also in a box. That's another kind of a box, because we have the ability to decide what we stand for, and we have the ability to choose the rules that we live by. Most of the time, the rules that people live by are much harsher than the ones that are set up societally. But ultimately, we want to address ourselves and be responsible for ourselves and decide, again, my rules are I choose love and not fear. I choose a different reality that I'm going to live in. Or we're going to be polite and wait our turn. Well, what happens if you wait your turn and wait your turn? The problem is you end up waiting. So create your turn. Create the way that you want to go. Find a way that you can follow your path, and then create the structure that you can do that. It might even mean having your own business. I don't know, but there's a way that you can look at all the possibilities and all the opportunities and figure out which way you want to go and move that way. So waiting for someone else to show up, to show you the way, is not going to help. It's not going to work for you. So if you live in any one of these boxes, you have to step out. And the people I know that are leaders step out of the box, and they create a different kind of reality because they face their own courage and their own boldness. So boldness happens when you're clear about your values, when you know what you stand for, when you're clear about your ideals and your values. That's when you can become bold. When you're operating from what you believe is truth for you, and the values that you want to live by. That doesn't necessarily resonate to someone else, it's up to you, but when you do that, you begin to attract people that want your wares, they want your services, they want your connection. So there's an important question to ask yourself, and that really is, what is your bigger picture? When it's all over, and they're putting a little stone on the ground for you, what do you want to say that you've accomplished? And it's not necessarily even an external accomplishment. What do you want to say that you've accomplished? What is your bigger picture? What do you believe in? To me, the belief is not about, the accomplishment is not necessarily something monetary or I've got a plaque on the wall, because I can't take that with me. The value that I bring is going to be that I smiled at you and I let you have the road, and I decided to recycle, and I made my connection with my higher source, and that's what I live. And so you've got to decide the same thing, because when it comes down to it, you've got to be able to meet the challenges of whatever that is. So are you in harmony with what you're doing? Are you in harmony with it? Is there something that needs to be changed, and if so, what is it? Because the change starts with you. You are the change. And it's however you choose to address something or perceive it, that begins the change. And when you go, but it's them, then you're lost, because you have no power over changing somebody else. So somewhere along the line, you're going to be given an opportunity to serve, and you want to be ready when that happens. You want to be able to step up to the plate and be able to bring all the resources that you have available to you, internal and external, to step up to the plate. And that means you better be smiling to a lot of people along the way. And another way to get yourself ready is to take risks. Every day take risks. I've told people in my practice, it can be as simple as you go to work a different way every day. You eat lunch at a different place, or try a new food that you've never tried before, just for the opportunity to try something different. And you begin to program that into your system so that you're not so comfortable all the time that you never move, because comfort is our enemy. With comfortable people aren't growing people. We need to be uncomfortable. So take risks every day. That prepares you to be a leader. Do something different every day. Try a new class, something you've never thought about or explored. Just try something completely different. Expand your style. See what you're really capable of. Whenever I approach something new, I always think, I wonder if I can do it. I wonder if I'm up for this. I wonder if this is something I can tackle. And just the curiosity of, I wonder, is a great thing, because I'm excited then, like a little kid going, gosh, I've never done algebra. I wonder if I can do algebra. And then we get to find out, because maybe I can, and maybe I can't. But either way, it doesn't mean anything about me. It just means I stepped up to see if that was a possibility for me or not. And I think we have to look at it that way, instead of going, I failed at algebra. We want to be able to go, I tried it. I gave it a shot. I tried race car driving. I don't know. I tried hot ballooning. I don't know what. I tried it. I gave it a shot. I wanted to see if I could do it. I wanted to know where my limits are. At what point do I have to stop? I haven't reached that yet, so I'm still looking. And so along with that, it is really learning how to speak when we're uncomfortable. And sometimes the situation's tense. And we have, to really be who we are, to really be the person, the leader that we are, we have to step up and speak. We have to, be the one that says, let me try. I wrote this article, and I did bring copies too for everybody. They're on that table right there, about this, the power of one. And in that I talk about a number of different people that stood up. I mean, one was Rosa Parks, and she was, I think we all know her story, but she was coming back from working all day. She was tired. It was during segregation, and she got on the bus and she thought, I'm tired, I'm going to sit in the white section. And I mean, sometimes I think when we're really tired, all our boundaries go down, and that's a good thing. We don't have the resistance within us to go, well, I better not break the rules, So she got on the bus and she sat in the white section. Of course, she was challenged somewhere along the lines, and lo and behold, to her, she was taken off to jail and put in jail, and it started the whole civil rights movement. Now, is that fortuitous or what? So this woman, little gal, that'd been working hard all day, was courageous enough to go, no, I'm not going to accept those rules anymore. They're not right and they're not fair. And so that's what I believe, that each person has an opportunity sometime in their life to do something like that. And we might not be starting a whole movement in the United States, but it doesn't make any difference because we're making a wave that's affecting a lot of people. So a part of that is really learning how to listen to your intuition. When I say that sometimes we get to the point where we're tired and we can't resist anymore, sometimes that's when we're really listening to our intuition, when it's saying, no, sit in the white section. That's the right thing to do. So we want to learn to do that on a daily basis. We want to learn how to listen to that intuitive voice, the gut feeling, the gut hunch, whatever you want to call it. To me, it's just intuition, my inner voice speaking, and I listen to it. And even if it's saying something that maybe is uncomfortable, listen to it, because that's the next step, and that's how you move into your greatness. Your greatness, because everyone here is great. Meditation is another technique you want to develop. Meditation is, again, that communion with something greater than ourselves. Sometimes if we listen to the news, we actually start believing that everybody's bad, and people are out to get you, and it's scary out there. As soon as we do that, we've yielded to fear. Intuition allows us to move into something greater that says, no, there's love, and you are love, and you are great, and you can begin to respond to that. And that becomes a new truth for you. And the other thing is to hang out with positive people. It will not benefit you at all to hang out with negative people. And people say to me, yeah, but my parents are negative and my family's you know what, then don't hang out with them. Find some new people to hang out with, because it's a lot to fight in your life. If you're wanting to be positive, if you're wanting to be growing and expanding, and you're constantly putting yourself in the company of people who aren't there, it's a lot to challenge to keep going. To constantly be ignoring that or putting it aside and keep going anyway. Make it easy on yourself and find people who are also in the realm of growth and they want to expand also and make your life easier. So I gave the example of Rosa Parks because that was December 1955 when she did that. And she just died recently, but for all those years she was sort of an icon to people. And then I don't know if you know too much about Bishop Tutu, but he's one of my heroes. He's been in South Africa, and he was just a little bitty guy and so brassy. He just took on the establishment and said, apartheid is bad. It's a wrong thing. We can't do it. So he took it to his church. And he began to preach it from the pulpit, and he made waves, so many waves. People were so upset with him, and he was given opportunities to go teach abroad in different places, and he had to schmooze the government to convince them that he could promote South Africa if he went to Britain and taught. Well, of course he went to Britain and taught, and he talked about getting rid of apartheid. So he was a brilliant man. I'm so enamored with him because he looked at the establishment and he said, great, I'll figure out a way to work with it. I'll work around it. I'll work through it. I'll go over the wall. I'll go under the wall. I'll figure it out. And he did. That's my kind of guy. And of course Nelson Mandela is another one whom I have so much admiration for, because he spent 25 years in prison because he believed in the ideals and the values that he believed in. Of course, the ultimate upshot was that he changed the whole nation, because after 25 years in prison, they found out they couldn't beat him. So they allowed him to get out, and they elected him president of South Africa. So these people did not back down. They stood firm in what they believed and what they are. And that's what I know we're all capable of. And then recently there was a book called 3 Cups of Tea. It was written, the whole book was written as a biography of Greg Mortensen. I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but he was a mountain climber, and he was climbing in Pakistan, and he got lost, and he ended up in this little village of people, and the people were just incredible, and they were precious to him and just friendly and loving, and they said, we need a school. And he says, I'll build you one. So he signed on the dotted line, not really, but he made an agreement to build a school. So he went back to the United States and was trying to figure out, how am I going to do this now? For $12,000 he could build a school. over there. And so he would sleep in his car, he would sleep in a storage locker, he would try to avoid paying rent, or try to whittle his life down to basically basic needs. And then he wrote 500 letters to everybody, Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey and everybody, to try to get some money. Finally somebody came through with a little bit of money, and over a year of time, by hook or crook, he came up with $12,000. So he went over and built a school. And the village people were there, and they helped him, and they carried the bricks and the wood and everything. They carried up to this remote little village, and he built a school for them. And over time, then another village would say, well, we need a school too. So pretty soon, he was going up there every year. He was going up there and building another school and another school and another school. So over the many years that was happening, he built dozens of schools. He had a quote in here. He said, if we try to resolve terrorism with military might and nothing else, then we will be no safer than we were before 9/11. If we truly want a legacy of peace for our children, we need to understand that this is a war that will ultimately be won with books and not with bombs. And he made a huge difference in Pakistan, and then he moved into Afghanistan. And by building schools, he gave people an option to look at life from a different angle. He gave them an option to see hope and to see opportunity and to realize that they could be something. So that's Greg Mortensen, and he's made a huge addition to our world. He formed the Center for Asia Institute. It's in Bozeman, Montana. I might be saying that wrong. Anyway, so he's had that going for many years, and they've had fundraisers and stuff. He operated his family at like a shoestring budget so that he could keep pouring as much money as possible into these projects. So dozens of schools later, and people that have grown up in that system, and acknowledging him. He was even captured at one point by terrorists and held for a number of days, and the war lords, the war chiefs over there said, no, let him go. He's one of us. And they let him go. So that's pretty amazing. He's helped thousands of children. And then there's, in our area in Neosho, Missouri, there's a lady called Pam Koch. She actually rescued 6 children from Ghana. And these boys were enslaved, from as early as 4 years of age. And they were like doing diving. They would have these kids confined. They would have to dive into deep waters. And sometimes they died doing this. So they were forced into these very, very dangerous conditions. And when she heard the story, when Pam heard the story, she went out to raise money, to raise as much money as she could, and she ended up buying 6 boys and brought them to the United States and to families over here that took them in. So, she, because she saw something that she couldn't abide, that didn't fit with her value system, she said, no, I can't do that. And then she went into action and found a way to bring 6 children over. They also have an institute. So these were pretty amazing people. But these are the kind of people that I hold in my heart as my role models. And these are the people that I think, those are the ones that I want to be like when I grow up. So I'm working on it. Viktor Frankl, he was a concentration camp survivor. And he said, what's interesting, he said, when he was in the concentration camp, he could visualize his wife's hand and just hold it in his mind. And he realized that he was as close to her in his mind by doing that as if she were right next to him. But he found that he could have bliss even in the middle of a concentration camp by just where he directed his mind. So he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And he said, to be fully human is to take responsibility for creating the meaning in one's own life. So I think that is really what it's all about. It's up to us to create the meaning in our own life. And Oprah said, God had a bigger picture for me than I had for myself. And I love that one because I think God has a bigger picture for each one of us than we have for ourselves. So, I don't know, I think all of you have probably heard the quote from Nelson Mandela that he had in his inaugural speech. Actually, it was borrowed from Marianne Williamson, but who cares? I mean, I'm sure she would be happy to share it. And he said, Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence liberates others. Nelson Mandela, borrowed from Marianne Williamson. So that's basically it. Did you have any questions or thoughts that you would like to share? I left those are handouts right there if anyone would like to share them. That's some of the points that I made. Anyone? Yes. Patricia.
I have a question. I guess, well, a couple of questions.
Great.
I guess what I've noticed is that kind of the world, for lack of a better term, kind of defines everyone into the same categories. You know, winners, losers, have not, and everyone. And so you found yourself trying to embark upon and pulling some of the things you said, going up against a heavily unbalanced scale, so to speak. And my whole thing has been kind of like you said, I've grown now over the years, but fear of failure and fear of being looked at by the world standards in a negative way has probably been something that I have worked very, very hard to found for most of my career. What advice or techniques would you give someone to kind of really put that fear?
Well, it's a process. How to put that fear to bed, the whole idea of what the world thinks of you. I ask my students this all the time. I go, if somebody calls you stupid, does that mean you're stupid? No. Okay. So we have to decide. I am the one that defines me. Not you, not anyone. I define me. And if I choose to live from what I define as me, then what you say about me has nothing to do with me. Okay, and I'm talking about courage here. I'm talking about standing up to yourself. Because when you understand that you're the one that defines you, there's a statement that goes, I am. It's very powerful. And you fill in the blank. You know, I am powerful. I am loving. I am kind. I am successful. You're the one who determines that, and there's no one else that can. So you've got to have the guts to stand up and define yourself. And if somebody wants to put you in a box and go, well, you're a have-not, or you're a whatever, you have to understand that's where they're coming from. They are just telling you what they're all about. They are describing themselves. And when you really get that, people are talking about themselves all the time. There are no variances. So when somebody's saying you can't or it's not possible for you, you understand that they're talking about themselves, because for you define what you're capable of and no one else. Does that make any sense to you? Yeah. And we're here to look at the world and go, I don't care. I don't care what your rules are and your definitions are. I choose my own and have enough power and conviction to live that. I mean, there's always some people around that go, well, you know, if you're not this size and this shape and this whatever, it doesn't count. That's where they live. That has nothing to do with you. And so cultivate that within yourself. Cultivate that. I can't tell you the number of times I've gone home and said, no, this person said this rude thing. What does that have to do with me? And work through it and work through it and work through it until I realize nothing. What they do or what they are has nothing to do with you. Had nothing to do with Nelson Mandela. Had nothing to do with Rosa Parks. Had nothing to do with Bishop Tutu. And I guarantee you, every one of them had death threats and everything else. You know, so it's work. I mean, it really is. It's a self-discipline. That's why a lot of people don't do it, because it's work. You know, give me a pill, or you know, cut off some fat or something. You know, make it real easy for me. And I think the work that we're involved in is ourselves. We're here to free ourselves and to move ourselves to where we need to be. And it's hard work some of the time. a lot of the time is hard work, because we have to keep looking at our fears and defeating them. So I think it's a day by day kind of thing, you know. And the ego is a wonderful thing. You get that one past you, then here's another one. It's like a shooting gallery, you know. Here's another one. And you go, okay, I'm in for the long haul, so let's go. And that's what you do. Yeah. Did you have another question, or anyone else?
Yes, I had a couple of questions.
Great.
Not that I want to monopolize.
I love that you have questions.
But I guess for me personally, coming from what I've noticed in my career, I came from very humble beginnings, obviously. So I take on the role of humility with whoever I'm dealing with. So I'm not about titles or anything like that. I tend to like to serve. But working in the environment I'm currently working in, humility is far and few between.
Okay, so you have something to learn, don't you?
Well, humility on the part of the people I work with.
I understand.
So, right, I got something to learn because it becomes a daily struggle with, you know, as a female, I don't want people to perceive me as anything less than strong. So I'm always wavering, okay, when do I exert humility and just say, okay, I'll, you know, let your will, you know, go today. And when do I put my foot down and go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So when do I invoke Rosa Parks?
Yeah.
And when do I invoke Gandhi?
Yeah.
It was basically what it amounts to.
Even Gandhi was incredibly strong in his values. He didn't waver on his values ever.
Right, not the values, just my response, my reaction to how my values.
Well, let me redefine humility for you. Okay? When Jesus said, "It is not me who doeth the work, it is the Father within me who doeth the work," that's humility. Okay? So humility is not, "Oh, I'm sorry, did I bother anybody?" That's not humility. That's poor self-esteem. Okay? So humility is, I'm here, I'm allowing the flow to happen to me, through me, for you. You know, you can like it or not like it, it's not my business, but I am here to allow that to happen. Okay? And so I don't care if you're in a meeting, if you're in a conference, you know, you're sitting at your desk, you allow the flow to happen to you, through you, for those people around you, for yourself as well. And you understand that that flow is that energy which is greater than yourself. And when you're there, you've got your head up. You're not doing, "Oh, I'm sorry, did I offend you, did I bother you?" No, because that's not living who we are. That's not who we are. Does that make sense? So you redefine humility. You know, because we've been made to go, oh, you have to be humble, get your, you know, look down. No, I'm not looking down. I'm not going to look down. And none of these people that I described are looking down either. And neither should you. But so you decide, you know, but don't let, I tell people this all the time, don't let fear make your decision. Never let fear make your decision for you. If you have to pull yourself away a little bit and go, no, what is the truth here? What's the truth? What's my highest truth right now? And ask the question and wait, and the answer will come. Then you'll know exactly what you need to do. But you never let fear make your decision for you. Because none of those people, when they've done the things that they've done, may let fear talk to them. They were going, I can do this, I'm going to do this, this is right. So I have to spend 25 years in prison, I'm doing it. And Nelson Mandela did not back down. And I don't think we have to spend 25 years in prison. I don't. I just think that that's a great example for I'm living my convictions. Okay? I know the rest of you must have some ideas or questions you want to put forth. So every day, I mean, you each got something going on in your life where you can go, I need to step up to this. Do you all know what it is that you just need to step up to and go, this is my chance. This is my chance, my opportunity to be who I want to be. And if you don't know what it is today, tomorrow you will. You'll figure it out and go, that's what she was talking about. That's for me. That's for me. That's not against me, that's for me. It's time. I think life is always for you. But sometimes we go, I'm not up for it. Yes, you are. It wouldn't be happening if you weren't up for it. Yeah. Any other questions? Or? You go, Tricia. If you've got the questions, you go far, and then you grab the floor and go.
Whoops. Well, I think I only had a couple of just questions. I've always had I always ask
leaders who come here and speak to you, is it important to have a passion for what you do, and how important is that?
I do think it's important. And it may not even be the very thing you're doing, but you maybe have a passion. I have a passion to just share with people. So that comes to me and my clients, it comes to me and I teach classes all the time. I do radio. I mean, whatever I'm doing, I just bring that with me. And it's always about helping people with, as I said in my mission statement, it's about helping people see themselves for who they really are. Who they are, their higher being. So the form doesn't really matter a whole lot. There's a great story about this monk, about a guy who went to this monastery. And he says, I want to be here and I want to learn everything at the monastery. I want to be taught. And the head monk says, great, well, everybody at the monastery has to contribute. So what do you do? And he says, well, I play music and I write music. I'm really, really good at that. And he says, oh, okay. So you're going to be washing dishes. And the guy says, wait a minute, washing dishes? I don't want to wash dishes. I hate washing dishes. My mother made me wash the dishes. It's just awful. I hate it. Let me write music or do something else. No, you're washing dishes. Okay. So the guy started washing dishes, and he was so resentful, and he broke the dishes, and he got left soap on the dishes, and people were getting sick, and he just had a horrible time. And nobody would come and reprieve him. So washing dishes. So months went by, and finally he thought, well, I guess they're not going to come reprieve me, so I guess I'll just wash dishes. So he decided to wash dishes and take a little bit of pride in it and do a nice job and nice and clean and washing the dishes. Okay, great, I'll just wash the dishes. And finally, after he did that for a few months, the head monk comes and says, okay, now you can play your music. And I love that story because it's saying, whatever you got to do, do it. But do it with some pride and do it with some dignity. And as you do that, you're not fighting life anymore. Then the next opportunity will show up and you'll know where you go from here. But sometimes we just got to wash the dishes, so you wash the dishes. And that's what we do. But we keep it in our mind where we want to go from here, okay? And we look for that opportunity. Yeah.
Okay, I'm the kind of person where I have tons of ideas in my head, things I want to do, different avenues I want to take in life, but it's just, do you have to pick one?
Mm-mm.
Or do you have to focus on just one?
No.
Or can you focus on a little bit of everything?
Well, I think you have to kind of decide or gauge when you're scattered. At what point are you now scattered? But I teach, I do readings. I've done readings for 35 years, Akashic readings, psychic readings. I have my counseling practice, and I write books. I write a column. I do a lot of things, but it's always the same thing because in everything I do, I'm gearing it toward helping people empower themselves. So if you can put it all together somehow so that there's a common purpose, it's going to make your work so much easier because then, you're doing this with that purpose, or you're doing that with that purpose, or you're doing that with that purpose, and you're never feeling scattered. You're just going from this to that to this. But wherever you are, you've got to be there completely. So if you're washing dishes today, then you be there completely. And if you're writing a business plan, then you be there completely. And then if you have to switch back to washing dishes, you be there completely. So I really think, for me, I have to have variety in my life. If I did the same thing every day, I'd go Looney Tunes. So I have to have a variety. And so I've devised my life in such a way that all of these things have meaning for me, and they're basically saying the same things because there's a common purpose. So I think if you got clear on what is your purpose that you want to express through all of these various things, then there wouldn't be any problem at all in doing them. And some of us are just like that. We just have a lot of multi-things going on, and we want to do all of it, But recognize when enough is enough, and you have to gear in and focus. That will work. You'll be fine. Anyone else? Yes, I know there's a question. Come on out.
Is it true that sometimes you might be so much thinking about your own values, but then it gets in the line of you being selfish?
Okay, that's a great question about being selfish if you're thinking so much about your own values. Well, I think we have to look at, was Nelson Mandela selfish? And was Bishop Tutu selfish? And was Pam Coke selfish? I mean, they basically had a value that they wanted to live by, but they took that into the world and they created change in the world because of what they were doing. So yes, I think it's absolutely selfish. And I think it's absolutely what we have to be. We have to be that. We have to be that kind of selfish, where what I am living by my value system. And your value system is different. I bless you. I bless you. Go do your own value system. But I have to do mine. So that might define how much we hang out. I don't know. It might be wonderful to hang out with someone who's got a different value system so we can share and talk and discuss, That might be great. But at the same time, I am responsible for my value system, and I'm very selfish about that. And when I say selfish, I mean high, capital S, selfish. High selfish. I am coming from a place, of value. So yeah, if you're thinking that my value system is that I want to take from people, that sort of thing, and you're around other people who think no, that's not the way, you might not be getting along really well, But we're where we have to be because there's lessons there, and as we learn them, then we move on to the next thing. So it's all good. It's all good. Everything's good. Anyone else? I don't know if that answered your question. Was that good enough? Okay, good. Yeah. I think that selfish word is something that people hold over their head a lot. Like, if I really do what I'm passionate about, I'll be so selfish. And I think, yeah, then you'll really love it. You'll love it. Because we're so afraid of that. But really, if you think about it, everybody is selfish. Everybody is doing everything that they're doing because it's going to benefit them in some way. Whether it's I'm going to feel good or what. Everyone has selfishness. Even the one who goes, not me, I just give selflessly to everyone, Mother Teresa loved what she felt so connected to a higher power when she was doing her work. That was her reward. And we can say she was so selfish. Yes, she did that because it worked for her. Watch out for the ones who go, oh, poor me. Those scare me a lot because they're not being honest about their selfishness. But their selfishness is, look at me. Do you see what a great martyr I am? Notice? Are you impressed? I'm doing that. That's their selfishness. Okay. Anyone else? Great questions. Did you have one? You're thinking. The wheels are going around.
Well, I'm thinking about what you said about, other people. You can't control other people, and when they say things about you, it's just a reflection on themselves.
Exactly.
And those times when, people are going to do things that create obstacles for you, and they are going to do things that affect you.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes a lot of things happen that make you frustrated because other people do things that either keep you from doing what you need to do or create additional obstacles for you. And a lot of times, you feel your pulse rise and you feel your blood boil, and it's like you've got to find a way to keep that feeling down, because when you start feeling angry about that, then you're putting out negative energy yourself, which doesn't help anything.
Uh-huh.
So I guess the question could be, when you find a lot of, when you see people throwing obstacles in your way,
mm-hmm.
or not being rude or whatever, how can you overcome that?
Okay, how can you overcome your reaction?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, give me one obstacle that can stop you from going where you want to go? One. Anybody. One obstacle. Give me an example.
I'm thinking more on a day-to-day level.
Okay, so give me one.
Like today, I was supposed to have a phone call. I need information from one partner of JCI,
mm-hmm.
and to move forward on a project that I'm working on, and to do it well, and to do the best thing for, my career, and for JCI, I needed information from them because
mm-hmm.
they're our partner and we have to work with them.
and we had scheduled a phone call. And they had picked the time and date, and then when we called, we found out that that person was in meetings all day, and they had not contacted us, they had not said anything, and we had been waiting weeks and weeks and weeks for this information, and they still had not gotten it, and it was just like, no, we have to wait more, you know, we had tried so many times to contact them, and it's like, we have to try again and again,
so
and it was just discourteous, and it was like, you know, sometimes it's just like, how many times do I have to take this and just feel like it's okay, we'll find another way, you know, it's like, okay, you can go under the wall, you can go over the wall,
Do you find another way then?
Well, in this particular case, there are some other ways I can take it, but I would, like, there's information that they have that we need.
But they're not going to give it to you. They're not going to give it to you.
But we're trying to find other ways around them, but
Yeah.
they're really putting a big block in my way.
Yeah. The answer to your question, though, as long as you believe I have to have that person give me that information or make that decision or whatever, you're stuck.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is realize there's always ways of getting wherever you want to go. And I mean, even if you're fired, like, great, then I'm just going to go on to the next one. Because anything out here has no power over you unless you give it power. She's saying yes. So if they say, you're fired, I'm like, great, that just means to me I'm finished with this place, it's time to move on to the next one. Okay? And we develop that kind of an attitude. We develop it by looking at life as a series of possibilities. You know, when we think I have to be here or I have to have that person in my life, we're without power. There's no power. So if you step back, and this is a good exercise, step back and go, what are my other options? Whether it's getting information, getting a decision done, a new contact, a new person, a new opportunity, what are my options? And then, I mean, recently my daughter was going through a change at work, and I've taught, my kids are really good at listening because I'm really good at listening, and I'll point things out like, so your boss said that she got a very bad review, huh? And now she's giving you a bad review, right? It sounds to me like you're being the scapegoat here, you know. So, and we talk about these things like, what's really going on here? You know, do you want to sit around and wait for the other shoe to drop, or do you want to be in action? Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, she gets it. And so, you know, we're working on a plan. Well, what's her plan? What is she going to do to keep moving? Because she could wait around and go, I'll work really, really hard and work for a better review. But wait a minute, if this gal's getting a bad review and she's in a bad light by her superior, she's looking for somebody to blame it on, and you have to be the new kid on the block. Okay, so what's going on here? And then you look, and you begin to see. Then that shows you what your action needs to be, where you go from there. And I think it's just about learning how to listen and look and understand that there is no one position that is the only position for you. There's no one company that's the only company for you. There's no one anything that's the only thing for you. So don't paint yourself into a corner. Always be able to see that there are other possibilities. For anything, getting information, making a decision, planning an event, moving on in your life. Never give anyone the power over you. Make sense? Never ever give anyone the power over you, because your job is to create your own resume, your own biography, your own history, you know, your own career path. It's your job. Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate being able to. Thank you. Thank you.